Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Jazz or V, whatever you like to call me. And today we will be looking at all the books I read in April. Woo! April was my birthday month. March I was in a reading slump, and I'm telling you, in April we got out of it. We stepped out of the slump and I read a lot. I read more books than I think any month this year, which is exciting. Little anecdote, my partner just asked me, what is today's video about? It's like, oh yeah, it's my April reading wrap up. What do you think? How many books did I read? And they're like, oh, what? I don't know, 4? And I was like, 4? I read 8 books in April. That's cool. And there was a 5-star read. There was only one that I was like a little disappointed by. Let's put it like that. But yeah, exciting reads. I continued my Octavia E. Butler challenge. I continued reading the Heaven Official's Blessing series. I continued another series, which is the first book I will talk about. I read some nonfiction. I read some classics. There's everything here. So have fun. Don't forget to subscribe down below and leave a like on this video. And now let's get into the 8 books I read in April. Yay! Alright, the first book I read in April, I actually read on my e-reader, so I do not have a physical copy of it. I do, however, have quite a few of the books that I read this month as physical books, which is exciting because there are months where that barely happens, but this month the majority was physical reads. The first book I read was me continuing the Bird Who Drinks Tears series. So I read the second book in that series, which is called, well, I don't know what it's called in English because it is not released in English. In German, it's called Der träumende Krieger, so The Dreaming Warrior, I guess. And it's by Lee Yong-do, a Korean author, and it has been translated to German, the entire series, I think in 2018. The books were released originally in Korean in 2003, and good news for anyone who is interested in this series, the first book in English will be released on June 2nd. I checked today and it says June 2nd. I remember when I was reading the first book, it still said April, then at some point it said May. But yeah, at the moment, June 2nd, the English release will be coming. And I would say, if you like fantasy and you like East Asian literature in general, and you would like to see these two things come together, pick up this book. Anyways, let's get into the second book in this series that I read. Let me tell you all about it. So, the book picks off pretty much exactly where it was left off in book 1. Basically, the whole point is that there's this creature called a Naga that lives in the south, in the forest, and we have our 3 heroes, I will call them for now, from 3 different species as well. One is human, one's a Lekon, and one's a Dokebi, I think it's called. And they went south to this forest in book 1 to find the Naga and to escort him to a temple in the north. So it kind of continues this journey of like escorting, and we have different obstacles, and we're being chased by multiple beings, I would just say it like that. So it kind of continues this adventure, and I have to say, for me, like it was dragging a little bit. I was a little bit bored. Yes, I was like, okay, we're continuing this journey. I was also surprised how quickly we reached the temple. I thought it would take a lot longer considering the first book was all traveling. The second book was not all traveling, even though it felt like the journey, the distance we covered was about the same. But anyways, there was also a lot of lore built up, a lot of history of the world built up in the second book, which is very typical for a second book in the series to happen, which is understandable. There was a lot about the history of humans in this book specifically, and I think we will get more of the other species in the next 2 books, so there's 4 books in total. So the first 60%, I was like, oh, okay, it's taking a while, like not much is happening, but then the last 35%, so good. Oh my god, the build up to the ending, amazing. The whole, I think it was chapter 5, they have very long chapters, so that also doesn't make it easier to read it quickly, I feel. The whole chapter 5 was great, like the things that were happening. The ending, the very like last page, amazing, so exciting. It like literally made me want to continue to read. I was like, oh my god, I need to continue, which I'm not yet, but yeah. So it's the kind of ending to a book that immediately makes you want to pick up the next one, which is good because series need that, especially series that feel like a little draggy. If you, in the end, if it hits you, you're like, okay, I'm gonna continue the series. Overall, I can say that I liked it less than the first book, but I think it has to do with the fact that the first book felt so new and so refreshing and such a different perspective on fantasy than what I've read so far that I kind of was very excited about it, but definitely a good series, will continue. I rated this book 3 out of 5 stars and looking forward to book number 3. Curious what's gonna happen. There's definitely like a lot that has to happen. Like the plot is thick. Oh my god. Now let's get to the second book I read this month, and oh my god, guys. I read it on my e-reader. I wish I had it physically. I will buy this book no matter what, because this is a 5-star read for me. I read the second book in the Earthseed, I guess, duology, original trilogy by Octavia E. Butler. So I read Parable of the Talents, and my oh my, what a crazy book. Parable of the Talents continues where Parable of the Sower ended, with diary entries of our girl Lauren. It starts in the year 2032 and it focuses on her building her community and settling in that community, but also very much on the political climate in the USA at this time and in this story. And it kind of talks a lot about how fascism is on the rise, and also how there's like fundamentalist Christian groups that are forming and that are taking over the country, and the new president is kind of going into this direction too, and how this kind of affects people who are not in line with this kinds of beliefs. There's the POV of Lauren, but we also, compared to the first book, we get a different POV, which I won't tell you what it is, because that would be like a big spoiler. Like, if you pick up the second book, it's in the first chapter, you know who it is, but it's like a big thing. So we get like one major other POV, and then throughout the book, we get like a few diary entries or book entries by other characters that we have already seen and known in book 1. The book is devastating. Oh my god. I have not cried, like sobbed, for a book in a very, very, very long time. But this one, I cried so much. So bang on in the middle, the most devastating thing ever happens. Like, crazy. I was crying in the middle of the book. And then also the last chapter just had me crying the whole time. I was actually in the train to Vienna while reading the second half of this book, and I was just like, tears were running down my face in public. If I would not have been in the train, I would have gone to bed and cried for 30 minutes straight, because it was so painful, so devastating, so beautiful too, but just so, my heart. Yeah, it hurt. I gave the book 5 stars because I get why people say these books are 5-star reads. Like, the first one, I gave it 4 stars, but in combination with the second one, this story, it's a 5-star read, in my opinion. It's so... I don't even know how to explain. First of all, it's written so well. Second of all, it tackles themes that are so relevant, like environmental collapse, political, like, far right-leaning moves of the political spectrum, fascism in general. It really puts a perspective on like what humans do to each other. And also there's a whole dimension of family ties, family loyalty, betrayal. Like, it's amazingly executed, and I really, really loved it. And also the narration style is just genius. To tell a whole story through diary entries, it's very genius. And yeah, the books are a forever unfinished trilogy. Like Octavia said, there would be a third book, but she obviously passed away without releasing it. However, even though it is an unfinished trilogy, I did not feel like the book ended with threads that were not yet tied together, which is very nice. It definitely felt like an ending to a story, and I don't know what she would have written in the third one. I mean, I have like an inkling what it would have been about, but I think for like the story of Lauren, this very much is a complete, full circle finished story, and was amazing. Octavia, please come back. Like, it was so good. Continued the Octavia E. Butler challenge, which means I have now finished one of her series, which means I have 2 more series to go, which, I need to start. I should start one this month, right? I need to start a series. Anyways, that's it for Parable of the Talents, 5-star read, read it as an ebook, and now let's get into my first physical book of this month. So after reading Parable of the Talents, I kind of needed something light, because I I was in the gutter. I was done. I was feeling so painful, and I was like, okay, let me read something funny. And I had a book that is promising fun, and that is The Venomous Lumpsucker by Beauman. And you know, it says on the cover, it says, as intelligent as it is funny, fascinating, powerful, impeccable, mischievous, hilarious, exhilarating, funny, and profound. Like, those are the blurbs on the book. And it's a sci-fi book. It's an environmental sci-fi, mainly about animal extinction and preserving animals even if they went extinct. And it's about two very unlikely characters who kind of have the same goals. So we have our male main character who's called Halyard, who works for a big oil corporation, I think, and kind of like did some embezzlement there and is a bit in a pickle because of it, because he may have shuffled some money when he shouldn't have and is now in not the most optimal situation regarding all that money. And his company has contracted our girl Karen, who is a scientist. So she does like certification of whether a species is intelligent or not for a company to know if they can eradicate it or not. Like, she has been contracted to take care of the venomous lumpsucker, make an assessment of the species, and Halyard's company may or may not has kind of effed up when and where they were like digging for oil regarding the venomous lumpsucker's territory. And Karen really thinks the venomous lumpsucker is the species of all species, and she wants to keep the species alive. And Halyard wants to keep the species alive because he does not have the funds, his company, because he kind of stole from the company, they don't have the funds to pay what it would cost if the venomous lumpsucker would have been eradicated. Anyways, it's kind of them going on an adventure, and it's a lot bigger than just that venomous lumpsucker. Like, it's a lot more about how big corporations just destroy the planet, basically, and the consequences of that. However, I did find it was, for my liking, not critical enough of it. It was kind of, because we have a big corp guy who is the main character, it was kind of brushed over by him very often. And also Karen didn't seem to care that much about the environment as a whole and just about the venomous lumpsucker, which kind of took away the whole dimension of being critical of these big companies doing what they're doing. There were also many interesting transhumanist concepts built into it. If you know anything about transhumanism, if you read this book, it ticks all the boxes. It's very interesting. I learned about transhumanism in one of my classes after reading this book, and I was sitting there and I was like, that's like the venomous lumpsucker. Everything happening there is just transhumanist theory. Like, geez. And yeah, it's about AI and the singularity as well. You know, it's going in this direction. And for me, yeah, it was just not critical enough. And it was funny, I guess, but not like laugh out loud funny. It was more like lighthearted and haha, look at us killing the planet, which I just didn't really like that much. And also I felt in some parts of it, it was like so detailed and so descriptive of like a species that we just look at once and then never hear about again. So now I know all these things about who knows what the species is called, and yeah, not sure about that. So for me, it was good, but it wasn't amazing. It was what I needed at the time because I really needed something else after Parable of the Talents did that for me, but in the end, I gave it 3 stars. Next up, another physical book, and exciting one, of course. Another month has gone by, and I have continued the Heaven Official's Blessing series. This is book 3 of Heaven Official's Blessing by Xiang Tong. I really hope I say that name correctly every time. I try my best. I read one every month. In April, it was my birthday, and I received every single remaining book in this series. I had the first 3, and now I have all 8. And yes, I've already read the next one. It's amazing. I love the series. And in this book, we're still 800 years in the past before the kingdom of our main character, Xiang, falls. And it's all about how he actually falls from grace because he wants to protect and save his kingdom. And it covers like this entire arc of his story after his ascension and into descension, I guess. And then it goes back into our main timeline where he continues to like uncover mysteries and trying to figure out what the hell is going on with the upper court, because what is going on there? They have so many secrets, and everything he uncovers kind of like ties into that. So yeah, there's definitely some scheming going on. I'm very curious. And it also kind of works out more friendship between the Windmaster and Xiang, which, I now read book 4, so yeah, kind of crazy. I don't have that much to say. I just want to say Hua Cheng is the GOAT. I think, everyone needs a man who is as whipped for you as Hua Cheng is for Xilian. Amazing. And then also the Thousand Lights Temple chapter, I teared up. It was so, wow, so touching, so sweet, so amazing. I thought that was really, really nice. So thank you, Hua Cheng, for this one. And of course, the most exciting part, we got our first kiss. For better or for worse. I'm not gonna say too much about it, but it was cute. It's gonna get, after reading book 4, I'm like, oh, that first kiss is whatever. But yeah, as per usual, I really had a good time. It is so easy to read these books for me. They just go down. I could probably read the next 4 all this month. I have to pace myself to not do so. And I'm just having a mighty good time, which I appreciate. I rate them highly because I'm enjoying myself so much. So again, 4 stars for this book. Thank you for the English translators that they exist, and I can't wait to continue. That's for this book. Next up on the list, we have a book that is on my 2026 TBR of the year. So I always pick 12 books that I think I should read this year, and it's actually the first one I'm reading off of that list. Oopsie. I'm 4 months in and I've only read one, and of course it's The Vegetarian by Han Kang. What can I say? I feel the cover makes so much sense. That just crossed my mind right now. The cover with the flowers on the naked shoulder. If you know, you know. This book is about a woman who decides one day, seemingly out of nowhere, that she wants to stop eating meat. In fact, she actually goes vegan. It says The Vegetarian, but she also does not consume eggs and milk products. The word vegan is not used. I'm not sure if that is because by the time she released this book, it wasn't that spread yet, or if you just consider vegans vegetarians in Korea. I don't know what it is, but anyways, in my opinion, she goes vegan. As a vegan, she went vegan. And the book is actually written out of 3 different POVs that are all not the woman herself. Interesting choice, and I love it that was chosen. And I already was hooked on the book from the first page, because the first chapter is written from her husband's POV, and I just want to read you the first sentence. Before my wife turned vegetarian, I'd always thought of her as completely unremarkable in every way. And I just felt like her husband just low-key objectifying her and reducing her to just not actually a person was very prevalent in this story, and also made me think a lot, because I felt all the people around her did not take her into consideration. They did not ask her about why she did this choice, or if they asked her, they didn't really want to listen. They felt entitled to her body, but also to her decision. Her taking a decision for herself was seen by everyone around her as an attack, which is a very interesting thing. I mean, it's not, well, I say interesting, but it's it makes sense that this is how women are treated globally. And I felt it was a very interesting perspective by Han Kang to write it like this, by POVs from everyone else, that showed that nobody is actually talking to her. Nobody is taking her seriously. And the first chapter was insane. It ended absolutely insane, and then went to the second chapter, new POV, time skip as well. But the second chapter, I was I didn't think this book could get more insane after chapter 1. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Chapter 2 was absolutely crazy. And then I was on the edge of my seat going oh my god, what does chapter 3 have for me? And I do have to say chapter 3 was not that crazy. Chapter 3 was a lot more mellow, and it makes sense because chapter 3 is from the perspective of her sister, and that's why it takes a very different angle and very different way of approaching her and dealing with her, our main character basically. While I would have loved more insanity, I also thought it was really thoughtful to give kind of a more human perspective, but in the way as that our main character would be seen a little bit more human, although even her sister struggled to be able to understand or try to understand her. It was very interesting. I really liked it. I felt it touched upon this whole, in a very meta way, it touched upon this whole discourse of women being property, women being seen as property, even if they're not, of course, right? But still, like, how they're treated and how this specific woman is just not listened to, not respected, her autonomy is not respected, and how she is kind of just this victim of all her circumstances, that even when she takes a decision for herself, it's questioned whether it is actually for herself in a very interesting way. And it makes me as the reader also question, like, oh, did she actually decide that, or is she just crazy? You know, that's the way this book is written. It made me also realize that Han Kang books are crazy. And I like it. I like the way she writes. It's very interesting, but I do have to be in the mood for it. And she has a total of 6 books. I will definitely be reading all of her work. So I have 4 more to go, but at the moment I don't have another one. But once I would have one, I would put it on my reading list. I rated this book 4 stars. So yeah, really enjoyed. I do recommend it less than Human Acts, more because it has a very different angle, and also because it might be a little triggering, since there is like disordered eating kind of in the room with us. So yeah, that is book number 5? Yeah, book number 5. I read this one. And now let's get into the next one, because the next one I read is a classic. I'm continuing my Gogol journey, and I read Diary of a Madman by Nikolai Gogol. Physically, I have 2 more of his stories to go that are on my shelves. One is the second book in here called The Nevsky Prospect, and another one is like a spooky little story that I will definitely read in October, that I got in Leipzig 2 months ago, well, in March. And yeah, what can I say? I mean, the title of the book is self-explanatory. Diary of a Madman is the diary of a man who goes mad. And while in the beginning, he does seem quite normal, he kind of has this infatuation with the daughter of his boss and is kind of falling in love with her. He also thinks she has a dog that can talk, and talks about how this dog has sent him letters. Do of this as you want. Like, the dog is sending letters. And then, like, it kind of gradually gets more and more insane. He starts, like, after realizing that maybe this love is not gonna work out for him, he starts obsessing over some other thing, which is a very historical reference to the time this book was released. And that kind of is, like, bringing him his downfall. Gogol, once again, is touching upon poverty in this book, but also, again, government officials and like working in like these structures of being like appointed a certain rank and role, and like how this kind of, you know, deals with you and how people deal with you and what it makes of you and what you think of yourself. And I just find it so interesting. Gogol really talks about serious things, like mental illness in this book, but he talks about it in such an unserious way, or like the way he writes, you're just reading, you're just a passenger. You're like, what the hell is going on? You're kind of just like experiencing all of this while you're along for the journey. And I really like that about his writing. And I just want to say, pet peeve of mine, I told someone about Gogol and they said, oh, so Kafkaesque. And I'm like, Kafka was born like 100 years later. What are you saying? Okay, not born, but like releasing books. And it's not Kafka, it's Gogol-esque. He was there before, right? I know that Kafkaesque is a term that is like established now, but come on. This is like the 1830s we're talking about, okay? Not the 1920s. It's not Kafkaesque, it's Gogol. But yeah, my pet peeve. I rated it 4 stars. I liked it a lot, and gonna continue reading my Gogols until I have all of them read, and then I will seek out some new ones of his. Alright, let's get to the 7th book. It's another physical book. I actually bought it at the secondhand store in April and immediately read it, and it is non-fiction because it is an essay by Susan Sontag, and it is called Regarding the Pain of Others. I saw this at the secondhand bookstore and I was like, oh, I need to pick it up because I have heard about her essays. I've only read a play of hers, Alice in Bed. I read Alice in Bed, was it last year? Yeah, I think I read it last year, and I liked it, and I was like, okay, maybe it's time to read some of her nonfiction because I have heard mighty good things about her essays. I think on BookTube, mainly the book Leo talks about Susan Sontag essays, and I was like, oh, I really need to, I saw it in the secondhand bookstore, I was like, okay, let me get it. And this is about war photography, the history of war photography, the distribution of, or mass distribution of war photography, and what it does to us as like receivers of this and consumers of this in a empathetical way, but also in a framing of a conflict type of way. And I found this so interesting. Me and a friend have recently talked about this exact topic, and it just felt so on topic with how social media is dealing with this whole like streaming wars basically, and everyone just being able to see devastating things at any given time unfiltered makes this book very relevant in my opinion. I would be very curious what Susan Sontag would say about this whole social media thing, because she writes about how the video camera kind of made it that everyone could become a war photographer. Well, now everyone has a phone in the pocket and can just take a video and upload it, and immediately thousands of people can see it. And what does that do to us and the distribution of war photography? It was released in 2003. It was her last release before she passed away, and it feels very relevant to today. I found it very interesting. This book does not give any solutions, just so you know. It gives you the chance to be introspective about it and to think about war photography and seeing pictures of wars and what it does to you. It talks about empathy, but it does not like make an analysis if we get more or less empathetic if we see more pictures. But I do find it offers a good moment to think about it and also talk about it to others. Found it very interesting and rated it 4 stars. So pick it up if you can. I think it's a short read. It's an essay. Very interesting. Also about the history, how she kind of talked about specific pictures that were released at a specific time and what they did to the public at this time. And then what the framing was. And then, some of them turned out they were actually staged. Others turned out they were actually happened like this. Very interesting book. And now let's get into the final book, which I don't have physically because it was an audiobook. I've been not doing a lot of audiobooks this year because of Robin Hobb, but this time I needed something. I was like, I need to listen to an audiobook. I haven't in a while. I need something while I'm being craftsy and going for a walk. I need to listen to an audiobook. And so I was like, well, why not do another Murderbot? So I did Exit Strategy, the 4th book in the Murderbot Diaries. It's a novella, and I listened to it with this as a dramatic reading, I think it's called. Basically, different voice actors. There was music as well. It wasn't just read to me, but it was actually an audio play. It follows Murderbot once again, and this time we are kind of returning to book 1 in a way, because it's finally reunited with Dr. Mensah and the team, or kind of trying to reunite with Dr. Mensah and the team. And I can't actually say too much about what's happening because it is very intertwined with the previous book, at least, if not just all the books before. It kind of builds up to this moment. If you want, you could actually think about the first 4 books as one, because that kind of makes sense. That's one arc, and the next book will be a full-length novel, which I'm curious about. However, I have to say I was not that invested in this 4th novella, and I think it's because, for one, nobody really takes damage. It's kind of everything always goes well, right? We're always the hero. And the second reason is, I remember I found book 1 and 2 very funny and entertaining. I'm kind of not having that much fun. I don't find it that funny anymore. I don't know. It's okay, Murderbot is doing this. Oh, Murderbot has said that, again. And Murderbot is once again watching the streaming feed. And it just kind of feels like more of the same without the story actually being engaging enough to have me hooked. Because the story isn't even engaging enough to have Murderbot hooked. Murderbot is clocking out all the time because it's bored. So how am I supposed to be interested that much? But that was kind of my issue. My favorite book is still number 2 because of art. I think if art would have come back, I would have already been more invested. And I really hope for that full-length novel that art will be back. Please bring art back. Art was the best character. I loved art. It kind of didn't make me that hot on wanting to continue the series, which is a little sad. But, I mean, you know how I am. I probably will continue because how could I not? I rated it 3 stars. It was okay. That's what I can say. And I really hope I will find the joy in it again. Let's see when I will continue. All right. These were the 8 books I read in April. I think April was a good reading month. I mean, already the sheer quantity is positive, and then also 5-star read and continuation of series and good books I read, so I'm kind of happy about that. Other than that, it's March now, and just to give you a little preview of the videos I'll be uploading, I'm preparing very diligently for Pride Month. I'm really, really, really excited, and next week I will upload my Pride Month TBR, what I'm gonna read, and a week after I will give you some recommendations of books you should read that I've read in the past that are queer for Pride Month to maybe be added to your TBR. So I'm really, really hyped for that. Best month of the year for reading. I've curated my book list for the past 4 months to make this happen. If you don't want to miss any of that content, make sure to subscribe down below and turn on the notification bell. Also, please leave me a like, and once again, thanks for reaching 100 subscribers. I can't wait to see where this journey goes, and I will see you next week in my next video. Goodbye!